Jeremiah Johnson is one of those rare cinematic masterpieces that feels bigger the more you sit with it. On the surface, it looks like a simple Western about a man trying to escape civilization by retreating into the unforgiving Rocky Mountains. But beneath the frost and the silence lies a brutal, deeply poetic tale of human survival. Released in 1972, the film placed a young Robert Redford into a cold, uncompromising world and changed the Western genre forever. It stood out for its stark realism, quiet emotion, and the incredible mysteries surrounding its production. Welcome back to Royal Time of Hollywood. Today, we are uncovering the harsh realities, the legendary violence, and the crucial scenes that producers desperately tried to slash from this cinematic classic. The savage legend of liver-eating Johnson. Before Jeremiah Johnson was a Hollywood script, it was a terrifying piece of American frontier lore. The movie was adapted from two separate books, Vardis Fisher's novel Mountain Man and the historical saga Crow Killer. Both tracked the real-life exploits of a 19th-century mountain man named John Jeremiah Garrison Johnston. In history books, Johnston wasn't a clean-cut hero. He was known by a far more menacing moniker, Liver-Eating Johnson. The true story is a dark descent into madness and grief. Johnston returned to his cabin after a winter-trapping expedition to find his pregnant Native American wife murdered by Crow warriors. Heartbroken and consumed by rage, he embarked on a legendary, decades-long blood feud. Frontier lore claims he hunted down, killed, and scalped hundreds of Crow warriors, eating their livers as a terrifying psychological weapon. Hollywood knew audiences in 1972 wouldn't accept an unhinged, cannibalistic protagonist. The legend had to be carefully reshaped. Screenwriter John Milius stripped away the gratuitous savagery, transforming a bloodthirsty monster into a deeply sympathetic, exhausted veteran seeking peace, only to be dragged back into violence by tragedy. Before Redford, the battle for the Mountain Man. Finding the perfect face to carry this inward, silent narrative was a challenge from the very beginning. The studio initially envisioned a more traditional, hard-boiled action star for the role. Early in development, Lee Marvin was considered, but shifting plans prevented the casting from moving forward. Later, Clint Eastwood became attached to the project alongside director Sam Peckinpah. However, Eastwood felt the character was too quiet and lacked enough dialogue, and creative differences between the two men ultimately led to his departure. Eastwood then left to star in Dirty Harry. The role finally found its ideal match when Robert Redford joined the project with director Sidney Pollack. Unlike the previous contenders, Redford embraced the challenge of portraying a largely silent character. Pollack wanted him to disappear completely into the wilderness, and Redford committed wholeheartedly, growing a thick beard, losing 15 pounds, and crafting a mountain man defined not by Hollywood swagger, but by quiet strength, resilience, and inner intensity. This dedication helped create one of the most memorable and authentic performances of his career. A shoot born of real hardship. Warner Brothers initially demanded that Jeremiah Johnson be filmed safely and cheaply on a Hollywood backlit. Pollack and Redford fiercely resisted. They argued that the mountains themselves were a main character. You couldn't fake the breath of a freezing man. Convinced, the studio allowed them to shoot on location across Utah. Art director Ted Howarth drove more than 26,000 miles to map out locations in Ashley National Forest, Zion National Park, and the Wasatch Mountains. The result was a stunning but punishing production. Filming took place 8,000 feet above sea level in remote areas completely untouched by roads. The crew had to haul heavy cameras, lights, and gear by hand across miles of treacherous terrain. Temperatures routinely plummeted below freezing, and Pollack even mortgaged his own home to keep the cash-strapped production afloat. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to check out the other stories and shocking updates on our channel. We've covered many incredible celebrity journeys, tragic endings, and untold Hollywood secrets that you don't want to miss. Binge-watch our previous videos to discover more surprising facts, emotional stories, and where your favorite stars are today. Your support helps us bring you more powerful content like this, so don't forget to explore, watch more, and stay tuned for the next video. Jeremiah Johnson. Production Simulation. The agony captured on camera was entirely real. In the iconic scene where Jeremiah rides through a blinding blizzard with a frozen beard, there were no special effects. Pollock simply sent Redford out into a genuine Utah storm until his face went completely numb and ice formed naturally on his eyebrows. Furthermore, during a physical fight sequence with Blackfoot warriors, Redford took a brutal elbow to the chest that broke 2 of his ribs. Fearing that a halt in production would cause Warner Brothers to shut down the film entirely, Redford kept the injury a complete secret. He tightly wrapped his torso every morning, took heavy painkillers, and spent 3 weeks doing grueling physical stunts with cracked bones. The cut scene that fractured the studio. For over 50 years, the most significant secret of Jeremiah Johnson lay in the editing room. One substantial, fully filmed 8-minute storyline was completely excised from the final cut. In this deleted sequence, Jeremiah crosses paths with a troop of U.S. cavalry soldiers who are actively hunting down Native Americans. The erratic commanding officer tries to forcefully draft Jeremiah as a scout. Jeremiah flatly refuses, leading to a tense, violent standoff with the military. When test audiences watched this version, the feedback was jarring. The sequence completely derailed the movie. Instead of focusing on Jeremiah's quiet, internal journey of grief and isolation, the narrative suddenly felt like a heavy-handed political commentary on frontier expansion and, by extension, the ongoing Vietnam War. Pollock made the executive decision to cut the entire 8 minutes. The studio executives were furious. Thousands of dollars had been spent on cavalry uniforms, period-accurate props, and dozens of extras. Yet, Pollock stood his ground. He knew that the heartbeat of the film belonged to the quiet spaces of the mountains, not explosions and political warfare. The quiet legacy of a masterpiece. The studio also fought Pollock on the ending. Warner Brothers demanded a triumphant, traditional finale, perhaps Jeremiah riding off into the sunset or returning to civilization. Instead, Pollock left them with a haunting, silent exchange across a snowy valley. Jeremiah encounters his rival, the Crow Chief, paints his shirt red. Jeremiah reaches for his rifle, but the chief slowly raises an open palm in peace. Jeremiah returns the gesture. It is a truce born not of victory, but of mutual respect for shared suffering. Do you think Jeremiah Johnson is more powerful because it left its darkest, historical secrets outside the frame? Would that deleted cavalry scene have made it a better movie, or did Pollock make the right call? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved this deep dive into cinema history, make sure to click on the next video on your screen, like, and subscribe to Royal Time of Hollywood for more untold chronicles from the silver screen.